I'm going to show you how you can eat high carbohydrate foods, such as bread, potatoes, and rice, without causing a sharp spike in your blood sugar levels. So let's look at how you can reduce blood sugar spikes using resistant starch in your diet. There are three main types of food: carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. The type of food that raises blood sugar levels, that is, blood glucose levels, the most is carbohydrates. Carbohydrate-rich foods include potatoes, rice, beans, bread, corn, bananas, mangoes, sugar, and many others. Potatoes, rice, pasta, and bread contain starch. Starch is a carbohydrate made up of glucose molecules linked together like a string of beads or pearls. For example, when you eat a potato, it goes into your stomach, and your body begins breaking down that large starch molecule to release glucose. That glucose then enters your bloodstream and raises your blood glucose level. That is your blood sugar level. When you think about blood sugar levels, there are two main types of starch: regular starch and resistant starch. The great thing about resistant starch is that it doesn't break down to release glucose. Instead, resistant starch stays in the intestine and acts like fiber. It feeds the good bacteria in your gut. Foods that contain a lot of resistant starch include sweet potatoes, green bananas, beans, peas, and tiger nuts. But if you cook these foods, the resistant starch in them breaks down and becomes just like regular starch. When you eat it, it raises your blood sugar level. However, something interesting happens after you cook potatoes, rice, pasta, and other starchy foods in water. When you cool these foods in the refrigerator overnight, some of the regular starch, the one that raises your blood sugar, turns into a different type of resistant starch. Then, if you reheat these foods and cool them again, you get even more of that resistant starch. And the best part is that reheating does not destroy this type of resistant starch. The same effect can be achieved with bread, if you freeze it and then thaw it. By using this method, you can reduce the blood sugar spike by up to 40%. Another great benefit of eating resistant starch is that over time, it makes your body more sensitive to insulin. This means that when you eat, your blood sugar level won't rise as much as it used to. So you can go through this process of heating and cooling to make sure these foods won't raise your blood sugar levels as much when you eat them. And I have one more tip for you. When it comes to cooking rice, adding coconut oil to the rice while it's cooking and then chilling it in the fridge overnight can increase the amount of resistant starch even more. There are 3 drinks that can stop a rise in blood sugar after eating starchy foods. I recommend 2 of them. The third one I don't, but I still have to mention it. So the first thing you can drink is lemon or lime juice. Either one is fine. Of course, it's better to use fresh lemon or lime juice because of the vitamin C and antioxidants. But what you really need is the acid. In our saliva, there is an enzyme called salivary amylase, which breaks down starch into smaller units that eventually give you glucose. When you consume acid with starch, it stops the action of salivary amylase. This means the starch doesn't break down, and glucose doesn't enter the bloodstream. Another thing this acid does is slow down the rate of stomach emptying. This means you feel full for a longer time and are less likely to snack. So the digestion process slows down, and even when glucose eventually enters the bloodstream, it does so more gradually. The second thing you can drink is vinegar. You've probably heard of raw apple cider vinegar, unfiltered. It doesn't really matter. Any kind of vinegar will work. This means you can use white vinegar, apple cider vinegar, rice vinegar, anything really. The important thing is that the vinegar should not contain added sugar. Vinegar works similarly to lemon or lime juice. One of its benefits is that it acts on your muscles, helping them absorb sugar from the blood. Also, apple cider vinegar in particular contains antioxidants and polyphenols from the apples used to make the vinegar. And if you take raw and unfiltered vinegar, it means it contains the vinegar mother, which acts as a probiotic and can help with gut health. One more thing you can drink is wine. Yes, wine is slightly acidic, but it lowers blood sugar in a different way. When you're not eating, your liver breaks down stored carbohydrates to produce glucose. It also makes glucose from protein and fat. All of this helps ensure your blood sugar doesn't fall below a certain level. But when you drink alcohol, your liver prioritizes processing the alcohol over everything else. So your liver first breaks down the alcohol, and while it's doing that, it can't make glucose from glycogen, protein, or fat. That means your blood sugar keeps dropping. If I had to rank these 3 drinks from worst to best, at the bottom of the list would be wine. Yes, it does lower blood sugar, but it does so in a very unpredictable way. And if you're taking blood sugar lowering medication, combining it with alcohol is not recommended. Another issue is that if you have diabetes, you may already have fatty liver. So when you drink alcohol, which also causes liver issues, you're creating a double problem. Second place goes to lemon or lime juice thanks to its vitamin C and antioxidants, especially if it's freshly squeezed. And in first place is vinegar, especially apple cider vinegar, because it affects your muscles by increasing insulin sensitivity and may also help with gut health. So, how can you reduce blood sugar spikes when eating starchy foods? What can you do before, during, and after a meal? Before eating, there are several options. You can take 2 tablespoons of lemon or lime juice or vinegar, add them to half a glass of water, and drink it. You can take fiber supplements like konjac root or psyllium husk, drinking plenty of water. You can take 5 grams of fenugreek powder or 500 milligrams of fenugreek supplements. Finale, you can eat a large plate of vegetables, especially leafy greens. To maximize the blood sugar lowering effect, do this at least 30 minutes before eating. These tips are especially useful if you're going to an event or a special occasion, and you're unsure if there will be healthy food options. During your meal, to prevent a sharp rise in blood sugar, never eat carbohydrates alone. Always pair them with protein, such as meat, fish, or eggs, fats, such as butter or healthy oils, fiber, such as leafy greens. At the very least, combine carbs with one of these. If possible, include all 3. For example, if you're eating a salad, a dressing made of oil and vinegar will help slow down starch absorption. If you're having a sandwich with an egg, the egg provides fat and protein, which help balance the carbohydrates in the bread. If you're eating rice, pair it with beans, since beans contain fiber and some protein, while rice contains starch. If you're eating potatoes, add butter or ghee, which provides fat. If you're having a bowl of yogurt, mix it with nuts, seeds, and berries. This will add fiber, protein, and fat. If you're having a meal that includes bread, don't start with it. Instead, begin with vegetables. Look at your plate and find the highest fiber foods, usually vegetables. Eat them first. Then eat proteins and fats, meat, chicken, fish, etc. Finally, eat starchy foods last. Of course, in some situations, it's impractical to eat each food separately. For example, if you're eating spaghetti bolognese, you probably won't want to eat just the sauce first and then the pasta. And you don't want to take all the joy out of eating, so it's fine to eat everything together. If you don't want to drink vinegar with water, find ways to add it to your food. Use it as a salad dressing. Eat pickles. The Japanese add vinegar to rice. The British eat vinegar with fish and chips. All of these methods help reduce the glucose spike from starchy foods. After eating a starch. But before we get into that, you might be wondering, why should I even care about blood sugar spikes? The main role of glucose from carbohydrates is to enter your cells where it is used for energy. But when your cells are repeatedly overloaded with sugar due to frequent blood sugar spikes, they don't know what to do with it all. If they can't use it fast enough, the excess sugar just accumulates in your cells, and this slows you down. Think of it like a car on a road trip. If your gas tank is full, you'll travel much farther than someone with only half a tank. Your pancreas produces insulin to help lower blood sugar levels. By the time you realize you have high blood sugar, you may have already lost half of your pancreas's insulin-producing cells. What to do after eating if you have diabetes? If you have diabetes, lowering blood sugar levels after a meal can be more challenging. Think of it like starting a journey with only half a tank of gas. It's harder to go the distance. Another major issue with diabetes is insulin resistance. This means that even when your pancreas produces insulin, insulin signals your cells to open up and absorb sugar from your blood, but the cells refuse. As a result, sugar stays in your bloodstream, making it much harder to bring blood sugar levels down after every spike. Why is this dangerous? When excess sugar floats around in your body, it sticks to everything. Over time, this can cause heart disease, kidney problems, memory issues, wrinkles. Yes, sugar accelerates skin aging. This process is called the Maillard reaction, the same thing that happens when you toast bread. Once it's browned, you can't untoast it. The more glucose spikes you have, the more sugar circulates through your body, and the faster you brown from the inside out. Over time, frequent blood sugar spikes can lead to symptoms like dizziness, brain fog, anxiety, food cravings, headaches, mood swings, nausea, constant hunger. Eating a sweet snack may give you a short-term boost because sugar triggers dopamine, the happiness hormone. But when your blood sugar crashes afterward, you feel even worse. Blood sugar spikes also weaken your immune system. Occasional spikes aren't a big deal, but if they happen every day, your immune system stays weakened for long periods, making you more vulnerable to infections. What to do after a meal? Within 30 minutes after eating, try to stay active for 10 to 20 minutes, or longer if possible. You can go for a walk, dance, do kickboxing, climb stairs. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you get slightly out of breath. Why is movement important? Your muscles are amazing. When they are active, they can absorb glucose from your blood without insulin. This is especially helpful if you have type 1 diabetes, because it means you'll need less insulin after a meal, which is always a good thing. What about snacks? Choose savory, not sweet. Pick foods like cheese, nuts, vegetables with dip, or pickles. These are great options. Opt for starchy snacks instead of sugary ones. I'll explain why in a moment. The vinegar trick. Drink a small amount of vinegar before, during, or within 30 minutes after your snack. Why starch instead of sugar? Vinegar affects how your body processes starch, but it doesn't affect sugar breakdown. So if you eat a lot of sugar, your blood sugar will still spike, even if you've had vinegar. Final thoughts. Eating carbohydrates wisely is all about balancing nutrition with blood sugar control. Listen to your body, choose healthy carbs, and aim for stable energy levels and overall well-being. Keep your diet varied and delicious, and most importantly, stay healthy and strong. Take care, monitor your blood sugar, and see you next time.